Hi everyone, my name is Sarah.
And I'm Maria. Today we're going to talk about how Spanish explorer Hernando Cortez conquered the Aztecs.
Now before we get into the fun stuff, we'll give a brief explanation of how colonization in America started.
Europeans first arrived in America when Christopher Columbus sailed the Atlantic Ocean in 1492.
More and more people started settlements in the Americas because of Christopher Columbus, and eventually there were 25 to 100 million people living in European settlements in the Americas.
The first settlers from Spain primarily stayed in the Caribbean islands.
These Spanish explorers came to America for gold. Their wanting for gold encouraged them to explore the mainland.
These Spanish explorers wanted fame, riches, land, and religious favor, and they would meet their needs by any means possible. We call them conquistadors.
A conquistador was a Spanish conqueror of American Indian civilizations, and they came from aristocratic families.
One of these conquistadors was a charming, courageous, and ruthless Hernando Cortez.
Hernando Cortez is a pretty important player in this story, so let's give you guys a little background information about him first.
Hernando Cortez was born in 1485 in Medellin, Spain, and he came from a lesser noble family. In 1504, Cortez left Spain and traveled to the island of Santo Domingo and searched for fortune.
In 1519, Cortez sailed from Cuba to the Gulf Coast of Mexico. With him, he had 508 soldiers, 2 priests, 16 horses, and several small cannons.
On the mainland, there were 2 powerful empires that ruled the land. These were the Azteca and the Incas. Today, we're going to be looking at the Aztecs.
The Aztecs originated as a nomadic tribe in Mexico and arrived in Mesoamerica around the beginning of the 13th century. They built their capital city, Tenochtitlan, and became a dominant force in Mexico. They developed an intricate social, political, religious, and commercial organization and had many city-states under their control by the 15th century.
When the Aztec ruler Montezuma heard of the Europeans, he believed that they were gods or messengers of the god Quetzalcoatl, because it was believed that Quetzalcoatl would return that year.
Montezuma was skeptical of the Spaniards' motives, so he sent ambassadors with gifts of gold and featherwork in hopes that the Spanish would take the gifts and leave. However, the gifts only made the Spanish more determined to find gold.
Cortez met Malinche, who was an Aztec noblewoman who was sold as a slave to become an interpreter and informer for the Spanish. She helped them make allies with the Indian tribes.
Cortez and his army crossed the mountains to Tenochtitlan. Montezuma welcomed them as guests, and the Spanish stayed there for several months.
The Aztec noble rightly suspected that the Spanish were going to try to take over their empire. The Aztecs and Spanish engaged in a huge battle, and the Aztecs outnumbered the Spanish and were able to drive Cortez's army out of the city. This killed and or wounded more than half of Cortez's small army.
Cortez took this as a small loss and began a siege of Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs were able to hold strong against the Spaniards' attacks.
Then the Aztecs started to lose because the Spanish had given them smallpox. The Spanish were not harmed very much from smallpox, but it spread quickly with the Aztecs because they had no immunity to the disease. More than 3 million Aztecs died due to smallpox.
By now, the Aztecs had run out of food, and Montezuma had lost the trust of the people. Montezuma then died. The cause of his death is unknown, but many people believe that he was stoned by the Aztecs. Other people believe that he was killed by the Spanish.
Cuauhtémoc, the nephew of Montezuma, became the new ruler of the Aztecs and was able to hold strong against the Spanish for 3 months.
Cortez was then able to capture Cuauhtémoc, and the city of Tenochtitlan fell to him. Cortez executed Cuauhtémoc by burning his hands and feet in hopes of him revealing the secret stashes of gold.
There were no stashes of gold. Cortez hanged Cuauhtémoc 3 years after capturing him. Cortez then took control of the rest of Mexico. Today, Mexico honors Cuauhtémoc as a national hero.
That is it for today, everyone. We hope you guys all learned something new about the conquest of the Aztecs. I'm Sarah.
And now Maria.
It's the 1500s and Spanish conquistadors wanted fame, riches, land, adventure, and religious favor. Hernando Cortes and his crew of men set out from Cuba to find new lands in 1519. What they didn't know was that they would stumble on the Aztec Empire. The Aztec Empire was a very advanced civilization that ruled Mexico during the 1500s. They were natives to Central America for as long as we know. They're very religious and ritualistic. They believe that one day one of their god, Quetzalcoatl, was going to send gods or messengers from the oceans, which turned out to be Cortes and his crew.
It appears that we reach new land, men.
Hooray!
We must continue on to this unknown land in search for riches and the expansion of Christianity.
While the ruler of the Aztecs, Montezuma, is informed of the arrival of the Spaniards by his ambassador.
Do you think that they are gods?
Maybe, or they could be enemies. Either way, I think we should give them gifts as a sign of peace.
That's an excellent idea, my ambassador. I'll have you send them gold and featherwood. Then they will hopefully leave our lands in
His
peace.
finest riches and sent off his ambassador to give the Spaniards his gifts.
Who goes there?
I represent Montezuma, the ruler of the Aztecs.
Aztecs? Who are the Aztecs?
We live in this region of land. You are trespassing.
We are not trying to invade your land. We're looking for something important.
Are you Quetzalcoatl?
Yes, of course I am.
But you must be looking for the Aztecs, is that right?
Yes. Could you lead me the way?
Of course, follow me.
Led the men into the city of Tenochtitlan to meet Montezuma.
Right in here.
It really is you, Quetzalcoatl. It is an honor to have you here. What do you ask of us?
Do you have any gold?
I'm afraid I do not, but I might be able to help you find gold.
That would be nice. Would you give me and my messenger shelter in your fine city?
Oh, of course. Anything for a god.
The Aztecs stayed in Tenochtitlan for several months. Some Aztecs grew suspicious of the Spanish and drove them out of the city through battle. Hernando Cortes did not give up and started a siege on Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs started to die repeatedly because they had gotten smallpox. Eventually, Montezuma was killed, and soon after the city fell. Cortes then took control of the rest of Mexico. The end.